Stay tuned, everybody, because it's time for the Playin on Music Row podcast with your host, Fran. Heard each week on this station. And now, here's Fran.
Well, welcome. Welcome to the debut of Playin on Music Row. And we have a special guest today. It is one of the two owners of the station, the NBN network, Nashville Broadcasting Network, Keith Bradford, who, along with his brother Mike, started this whole thing, the whole of the station. So how are you today, Keith?
I am doing great, and this is a brand new experience for me. You're teaching me how to do a Zoom podcast on live with no editing. I mean, what we're getting ready to do is flying by the seat of my pants.
We are tech giants here at NBN. Well, you know what? Let's start off. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you first started this whole idea of NBN and NBRN, and where it is now, where you see it's going.
Well, there's a little confusion with the two call letters. The NBN is the television side of things. Like you just said, it's the Nashville Broadcasting Network. But then in addition to that, we have NBRN, which is the Nashville Broadcasting Radio Network, and on which you have your Groundquake interviews, which of course is audio only because it's a radio station. And then every Wednesday after your Groundquake interview plays, we send it out to our list of radio stations currently carrying our programming. And that alone, that would take over an hour to explain. You and I have had lengthy conversations about hooking. Do you remember me telling you all about hooking and how that works?
Yes, I sure do.
Well, the Nashville Broadcasting Network was created for indie artists that didn't have a platform to be on TV in Nashville. Because at the time, what is now called ION TV, ION, is quite popular. At the time, it was PAX, PAX, PAX TV, and their studio was located in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and they were taking local programming at odd hours. You could call them fillers. We were on at 6 o'clock on Thursday mornings. And all you saw on there was indies. You didn't see any majors.
Okay.
That's how it all started.
Okay. And where is it now?
PAX.
Oh, no, I mean, as far as the hooking.
Oh, well, hooking is no longer with, it never was with the video side of things. It was the radio side of things. And that is still alive and well. There are radio stations literally all over the world that are carrying the NBRN network because it's Nashville programming for free. They don't even have to have a disc jockey. All they got to do is play the button and play the file that we send them.
Okay. That's kind of like, it's sort of like syndication in a way, is it not?
It is. It's a brand new version of syndication. You can literally create your own internet radio station in your bedroom. All you have to have is high-speed internet and the software and a bunch of MP3s to play, and you can be up and running with your own Groundquake radio station in a matter of minutes if that's what you wanted to do. And there are people doing that. The problem with the people that are doing that is they don't have the commitment. When I say the commitment, we have to be on the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, whether we want to or not, because we have said to the world, we are a 24/7 internet radio station. So the last darn thing that you want to happen is to visit nbrnonline.com and see a blank screen with nobody on it, with no music playing so we have to do what they call auto DJ. And under auto DJ, It randomly picks from folders, bluegrass music, gospel music, um, oldies, uh, country music, of course. It just randomly picks, and it never plays the same song twice in 1 hour.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. And how often is that used? That used a lot?
It's used every hour of the day that we don't have a live disc jockey on the air.
Okay. Oh, well, fine. Okay. How about maybe give us a little idea of what part Mike plays in this whole thing?
He's the program director. He's the one that actually said, hey, I got this friend in Alabama and she's running a internet radio station. She's even selling advertising on there. And I don't know if we'll ever sell advertising, but I think I want to try it if you'll help me with it, because he was the only disc jockey that he was downloading songs anywhere and everywhere he could find them. People were sending us CDs. We were stripping the audio off the CDs. We were even stripping the audio off of VHS tapes just to have enough songs to be able to play 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well, talking about when you mentioned VHS tape, that means you must have been this business started a way back, huh?
It's over 20 years that we've been on the air. Over 20 years now.
Well, that's great. How about, do you have anything else to say about the business model?
Well, the business model is twofold. It's NBN, the video side of things, because at the time we were shooting in my garage with a green screen, and we were putting into the show. We would actually ask the artist before we even rolled the cameras. We would say, who's your favorite artist? And they might say Merle Haggard or Reba McEntire or whatever. What we would do is play one of their videos on the same show that they were on. Then they would get on their Facebook page and say, I just did a TV show in Nashville, and on that show, they had Reba McEntire.
Okay.
Or they had Merle Haggard.
Okay. Okay. So, well, let me ask you this question. Let's get a little bit into your career, if you don't mind. I hear you. I mean, you started as when it came to Nashville, you were with Opryland, which I mean, I know about that, but I think you started before you came to Opryland, right?
Oh yeah, but the Opryland days started. My very first show in Country Music USA was May the 30th, 1977. I worked 77, 78, 79, and 80 at the Country Music USA show. And they moved the show for one season over to Roy Acuff Theater, and it didn't work. The people that had attended Opryland to those shows, when they went to see the country show or the bluegrass show, they wanted to sit on logs out in the 100-degree weather. They didn't want to sit on cushioned seats and in air conditioning to watch country music. They wanted the raw feel of the Country Music USA show. So they moved it back, and it was right there next to the Wabash Cannonball. And the train would come by every hour, and they blow the whistle right in the middle of my song. But it was okay. It was all part of it.
Well, that's good. How many years were you at Opryland?
77, 78, 79, and 80.
Okay. And then what happened? What'd you go to then in 80?
By then, I was already making records for real instead of just making records to sell to family and friends. I had actually signed a distribution deal. So I went on the road as Keith Bradford, and two ways, as a single and use the house band, or if they had enough of a budget, I would bring my own 4-piece band with me. But most of the time I was working as a single in Ramada Inns and small venues that could afford a Nashville act, but yet the Nashville act would come in alone and use the house band to back me up. And some of those house bands were pretty good, and some of them were real bad.
Okay, well, you probably being single was probably the best. Then you know what you're going to get.
I sent them the charts ahead of time and work tapes and everything else, but they never listened to them. They said they knew my stuff when I got there, but they didn't.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? You're not the only one with that story.
It's part of the music business.
Yeah.
You gotta love it.
Is that not true? We'll be getting into that too. Let's see. I think we discovered a video of you. I don't know when it was from, but we're gonna play that. Maybe you can give me a little idea what this is all about, if you don't mind. We can start.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. See.
It'll take a whole lot of crying to get over you. A lot of tears are gonna fall before I'm through. There'll be a whole lot of heartaches and a whole lot of heartbreaks, but I'll never get over you. You're on my mind every minute, every day, until the time you come back to stay. There'll be a whole lot of crying and a whole lot of sighing, but I'll never stop loving you. You're on my mind every minute, every day, until the time you come back to stay. There'll be a whole lot of crying and a whole lot of sighing, but I'll never stop loving you. But I'll never stop loving you.
Who is that?
That certainly brings back a few memories. That is actually the pilot. There's a fellow that just recently passed away here in Music City named Stan Hitchcock.
Yes.
And Stan came up with this idea that he was calling at the time CMTV, Country Music Television. CMTV is what he called it. And in order to present it to financial backers and networks and all of that, he had to have a pilot. So he was working with the Tessier Talent Agency at the time, where I was at Tessier Talent Agency at the time, and he wanted half a dozen singers to come out to this little spot that he had out there in Hendersonville, which I drove by the other day, and that same spot that we shot that pilot at is now a pet store. But anyway, O.B. McClinton, I don't know if you remember O.B. McClinton. He was a black gentleman, country artist. Gene Shepard, James Marvell, and myself is who Tessier Talent Agency sent over there that night to film that pilot that Stan was calling CMTV, which of course he later sold all that and they rebranded it and everything and called it CMT, which still exists.
Yes.
But that was what you just showed was my performance on the pilot for CMT.
Okay. Is there anything else? I mean, that you remember from doing that particular show?
Well, I'll tell you a little trade secret about what you just saw. When Stan was getting that all together, of course, he was on a limited budget. He didn't have financial backers yet. All he was trying to do was slap together a pilot to take it to the next level. So every one of those people are pantomiming those instruments. There's not a person on stage playing those instruments for real. As a matter of fact, somebody told me a long time ago that the steel player was the janitor of the building. Everyone up there, including me, I'm pantomiming. What he did is he kind of took the idea from the Dick Clark American Bandstand show. You know, you would have the artist Chubby Checker singing the twist, for example. Well, there was no band on American Bandstand. They were pantomiming to their 45 RPM record is what they were doing. Well, that's what we were doing. We were pantomiming to the record, including the musicians were pantomiming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you were, I guess what it comes down to is you actually were doing lip syncing. Is that it?
Lip syncing is what I was doing, and every one of the musicians, none of those guys even played those instruments. In other words, if you want to really, really scrutinize that video, the fiddle break, there's no fiddle player on the stage.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, I could see that. Well, cool. All right, I think we have several other things that we'd like to discuss with you, and let me see, as part of it would be let's see, why don't we play one of the songs for you if we can, if that's all right with you. All right,
sure.
Because you've done I think you've done some demo work, right? Didn't you do demo work for people too?
I did. I worked for several companies. The one company that I worked for had me in the studio every single week. They had songwriters submitting their guitar vocal demo or piano vocal demo, or in many, many cases, it was just a poem. It was just a lyric that they had written, and our job was to create music to it and get it recorded and sent back to them on a cassette. At the time, we didn't even have CDs yet. That's how long ago it was. And they would go all around their neighborhood playing for their family and friends their brand new demo that they just had done in Nashville. And I did over 500 of them.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, we actually have one here. Maybe we'll play it and see what you have to say about this particular demo that you did.
People say we're too young to marry. People say we'll never get along. People say we're too young to marry, but we'll show them everyone is wrong. They don't realize how much I love her, and they don't realize how much I care. They just criticize and they cast down their eyes. Why don't they just let us be? People say it never was for real. People say our hearts will soon be broken. We'll show them just how we feel. They don't realize how much I love her, and they don't realize how much I care. They just criticize and they cast down their eyes. Why don't they just let us be? Why don't they just let us be?
That was a song that was written by Larry Novak from Canada, and he liked the way it came out so well that he turned right around and sent 10 more. We ended up doing an entire album of nothing. Keith Bradford sings the best of Larry Novak songs.
Well,
So we actually did an 11-song project that started out as one.
well, it turned out very well.
Well,
So,
thank you.
and
Thank
you
you.
still keep in touch with Larry, do you?
We do. Yeah, he sends a Christmas card every year, and yeah, we do. We actually communicate quite a bit on email.
Oh, okay. Well, great. I have something else. I know that you've been very, very busy doing things, and that is that you have you took your time to go through and create a website called Playing the Music Business, which videos. And I think people should know about this because they go into Playing the Music Business and it'll bring them to the screen and they scroll down a bit and they see 6 volumes of 10 videos each, which are 60 videos. And then you put all those together, did you not, Keith?
Yes, each one is a different lesson in the music business. If a person wants to learn, the problem that I face with a lot of the newbies that I try to get them to go over there and watch those things, they don't want to watch them because they already know everything on there. Just ask them; they'll tell you so.
Well, we have some interesting stories because once you select the volume, it comes up and it shows you the individual videos. And then once you get the individual video, you go through and you just click the play button, to have here, click the play button, and you're ready to go. Which I think is a really good thing. Can you tell us a little bit about how that all came about?
Yes, the late Jimmy and Lorraine Smart, had a television show locally here, right here in Nashville, on public access. And they invited me over there one time to do a little segment. They knew that I kept calling that same phrase, that slogan, the music business, you gotta love it.
Yes.
They kept hearing me say that on the radio, and they said, why don't you come over to our TV taping, and each week we'll do a little segment. You can talk about how to get your song published or how to get your song copyrighted or distributed or whatever, and keep it to maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll have it as part of our TV show every week. Well, we kept those. I did it for 2 or 3 years with them people, and we kept every one of them. And then some people up in Canada at Bravo TV saw them, and they said, we'd like for you to do some of those for our TV station. So they flew me into Toronto, and we shot another 26 episodes for the Bravo TV network up in Canada. So there were a lot of people watching those things in the day.
Okay. Well, okay. Are you going to be doing any more? Or What happened with that project?
Well, the reason why I haven't done there's a lot of them on your site that you built me playing the music business, but there's also some on YouTube. There's some on Vimeo. They're scattered all over the internet if people wanted to go watch them. But I haven't done any here recently because up until you showing me what you're doing today, I had been doing it old school and having to edit it step by step by step. I was spending 5 or 6 hours of editing just to do one 30-minute podcast on the music business. So here lately, I kind of got burnt out on doing them. But in light of what you're showing me how to do this, I may start it up again.
Well, good. Yeah, well, I think that's great. Because well, how do you say the NBN and NBRN coming together? Do you going to be focusing more on one than the other or something?
I'm down to a half hour on the radio Monday through Friday. I was doing an hour every single day, Monday through Friday, but now I'm down to a half hour because I've got other commitments, other things that I'm doing and involved in, and I just don't have the time to do an hour every single day. I go over there and do a half hour. I read the mail, pay the bills, and I go back home.
Okay, life got in the way, I guess. Yeah. Well, I think. Do you have anything else you wanted to say that we haven't covered?
Well, I would like to say that I think what you're doing here with this podcast is absolutely amazing, the way you're doing it. I never would have guessed in a million years you could do it on the fly, live, without any editing. I'm hoping, Miss Fran, I'm hoping that throughout the broadcast here, that neither one of us buffered and went to a robotic look. I'm hoping that it's all smooth, and we'll find out, I guess, when we watch it.
Yeah, it will look pretty smooth to me, and I appreciate you being part of the debut podcast. So I want to thank you for your time. I know you took a lot of time today. I appreciate that, Keith.
Now, if you want to, as I mentioned before, we can strip the audio off of this and play it on the radio if that's what you want to do.
Well, that's well, it'll come up to the program director.
Yeah, I'm as soon as you send me a copy of this, I'm gonna put it on his desk and let him watch it. And if he feels like it's something that our listeners would enjoy, then certainly we'll just switch it to an MP3 and broadcast it.
Well, I agree with that. Well, I want to thank you, and I also want to thank all the listeners for tuning in, coming on to NBN and watching all the podcasts there. There's a lot of podcasts out there, right?
Oh, there's probably a million.
Because you have
Yes.
Dave, and you have a whole bunch of other people doing podcasts for your station.
Oh, yes. But podcasts in general, there's probably a million.
Yes. Yeah, but we're providing a lot of good information for people. So I want to thank you for coming in and spending the time with us. I really appreciate that.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and I can't wait to get a copy of this.
All right. Well, thank you.
I'm excited.
All right. Thank you. We're done.